What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Griever back here, bringing you guys the latest behind-the-bar reviews for One Piece. One Piece, chapter 978. Okay, I think we're finally done with the Beijing cover story. The reason I haven't really covered that cover story is because not really that interested. I'm glad that Lola and Chiffon finally got to meet up again. That's really nice. That's a callback way back when to Thriller Bark and all that such. I love how Oda ties everything together and he uses cover serials amazingly well. But sometimes some cover serials just don't interest some people. And this one didn't interest me very much. I never assumed that something major would happen. I always assumed it would end up with Lola and Chiffon getting together when we kind of started to suspect that this would be involved, sort of idea. So, I mean, I'm happy for it, but I think after maybe one or two more, we'll probably, after about chapter 9, 80, 81, we'll jump away from that and maybe jump on into a new cover serial. Who knows? Now, the chapter itself, honestly, the big reveal at the end of the last chapter with the whole Kaido has a son thing. And it's brought up at the end of this chapter, the whole Kaido's family matters. Why is he getting us involved? The Topi Ropey, or the Topi Ropio? Whatever they're called. I'm terrible at Japanese. And the 6 flying fighters, right? And the thing is that outside of that, honestly, this chapter, we've begun the raid, which is nice. And we knew we had to have a few chapters of building up some momentum. I think the whole idea that we're having these break weeks, some on Oda's part, some not, is kind of hindering the pacing-wise. We've been waiting 2 weeks for this, and really what happened? Like, in all honesty, it wasn't a bad chapter, just nothing really happened. They started the raid, okay. They landed on the island, okay. Kinemon inspired his men by yelling in the sky. There were some funny moments where Frankie thought or Usopp and Chopper thought they might sink the Sunny, and Frankie was like, oh, hell no. But, that is not super, sort of idea, right? Outside of that, and the reason they did that is it's been done many times in history. It's actually a strategic thing you can do. But I also think that the main point to take away from it, you can go into the in-depth as to why this is a good strategy and such. But at the end of the day, it's simply because, listen, if they're going to attempt with Kinemon's gate thing, where everybody's transforming into, like, Beast Pirates get-up, like, I'm a Beast Pirate now, look at my insignia, right? Like, I'm wearing the bling, I got the t-shirt, I'm good to go, sort of idea, right? And they got the horns, they're doing the whole thing. And Luffy and Kid, everybody looks kind of cool in the whole Beast Pirates getup. I kind of like it. The idea is that, yeah, we know this is going to turn into an all-out battle. There's going to be a lot of commotion. There's going to be a lot of death and destruction. But if some people can confuse the enemy, if some people can kind of worm their ways in, the more intelligent people, the Robins and Namis of the crew, kind of worm their way into the crew sort of idea and start attacking from the inside outwards to the front lines, It's a very strategic thing, of course, to get behind enemy lines and attack from two fronts or flank them or what have you. So this would be a very, very useful tactic to do so, but they don't want their position known too quickly. Right? Like the rest of the Scabbards and Law is, of course, taking them around the back, that plan. But right here, they're sinking all the ships that they just rebuilt. If I was Frankie, I'd be pissed about that too. I'd be like, I just rebuilt. I worked day and night to rebuild all these ships to not only be seaworthy, but better than they were before, just for you guys to go and sink them in 2.5 seconds. Like, literally, we just needed a transport boat. Like, we should have just built the Titanic. The thing will sink, but it doesn't matter because you were going to sink it after we went 5 feet in that direction. So, I mean, I understand that from the shore, Onigashima is actually a fair distance, but still, it does seem like a lot of work just to sink the ships. When I first read it, I was kind of like, okay, it makes sense. As Jinbei says, we're going to, we'll hide the Sunny. Don't worry about that. Some selective ships. I'm sure Kid wasn't sinking his either, but they're going to hide a few sort of idea. But outside of all that, it was kind of like, man, all that work and effort just gone to shit, right? Like, honestly, just gone to the tit. And I thought, like, all right, I get it. You know, they don't want their presence known. If they're going to try some form of infiltration before Luffy and Zoro just start wrecking shit, this might be the best idea. They have their disguises. Nobody seems to know they're there yet. Kanjuro seems to have not been able to inform or get an audience with Orochi and stuff. And we see the entire huge crowd. And Kinemon says it's a 5-to-1 ratio here. There's a lot of people. They're partying. They're drinking. I'm sure Kanjuro isn't trying to cause mass hysteria by flying in going, the Straw Hats are coming! You know, or anything like that. So I'm sure he's trying to do this more subtly, and he might not have even landed yet. It hasn't been that long. He had to kind of fly away first, right? So this begs the thing that they're like, okay, well, we have an opportunity. We have a very small time window here where if we go through Kinemon's Garb Gate and head on through, okay, infiltration, not such a bad idea. So sink the ships so that the lookouts, which Usopp actually does take out some lookouts, but anybody else that happens to notice anything and might want to raise an alarm, at the very least they won't notice that there's a whole armada of ships docked at the main entrance to Onigashima. They won't see it. So that's it's not a bad strategy. There's other reasons, battle tactics wise and human history and stuff, the reason they did that, no retreat, morale boost, etc. Were other reasons, but sort of that whole burn the crops as you retreat so that the enemy doesn't have any shelter or food or anything. But either way, that's the majority of the chapter there. And then we get into Mr. Funky, 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 because he's queen. I'm not skinny, because if I was, I'd be too pretty. I'm queen. Funky, funky. You know, and I gotta love that reasoning. If I was skinny, I would be far too pretty. Funky. Love it. That one line alone completely sold me. Like, I liked Queen before. At first, I was kind of about the design choice. But usually with Oda, I'm always that way with the design choice. The moment I see one, I'm kind of like, I don't know. And then after a little bit, it usually grows on me. Because Oda knows how to make fun characters, interesting designs, interesting characters. And it's usually for a purpose, to fit some type of motif. And Queen is great. Queen is amazing. It'd be nice to know that the Six Line Fighters seem to kind of want, not Jack, but Queen gone. Like, they're talking the middle child. It's kind of strange with that. Like, because here we see Queen's kind of having a sort of concert. He's like, funky, funky, pleasures, yeah, waiters, yeah, gifters, yeah, all that stuff. And he does do Toby Robo, and they're just like, Toby Robo! Okay, you guys are no fun. Alright, funky, funky, funky! So, I mean, that's all fine and good. But in this chapter, at the end here, they do talk about, well, you know, if Queen were all of a sudden die, I suppose it's because Queen's there doing the concert and such, but it seems, did anybody else find that odd? I just found it odd that they talk about if Queen were to all of a sudden be, like, not Jack, not King, but Queen. Do they just all really find Queen annoying? Do they think Queen's the weakest link? I mean, I think Jack is, in all honesty. I think Queen's doing totally fine for himself, but I really want to know why Queen all of a sudden. Is it just happenstance? But something about that just didn't ring 100%. Same with Jinbei showing up at first. It just didn't ring. I felt unease, and now I feel unease about this. Like, why? Why are they talking about Queen being axed? Are some of them plotting sort of a mini Big Mom thing? Like, we're planning to assassinate Queen and kind of have an open season on a position in the Calamities. Let's do that. X-Drake, of course, has no real interest in that, no real part, because of course he's a member of Sword, which was the big thing. Him and Kobe, members of Sword, likely headed up by Garp or Sengoku or both. And I can almost guarantee you Sakazuki knows nothing. Akainu knows nothing. Kizaru knows nothing. Kong knows nothing. The Gorosei know nothing. Sword is its own thing. Sword is basically an illegal operation. Like it's the CP0 of the Marines. Instead, the CP0 and the CP9 being of the Gorosei of the world government. The Marines themselves, Sengoku and his kind of faction, have their own sort of hidden little gem in Sword. I'm really doubting it's sanctioned in any particular way. It could be. I could be wrong about that, but I just have a feeling that Sword is kind of that when shit starts to go down, when everybody finds out. Maybe they even think, because of course he knows the will of D, and he probably knows more than that. Sengoku's probably thinking, okay, something's going to go down by the time I might retire and I might be good, but something's still going to go down soon. And when it does, when the world government is revealed to be what they are, we're going to need somebody on the right side, because there's going to be a lot of people on the wrong side and people confused. I need to convince certain people now and at least take a small faction. If only, one person or two people or a dozen people just of good character, I need to steer them on the right path. I need them to be on the right side of justice in this. So that I could just be speculating, but either way, and that's what I'm doing. The thing is after this we get the introduction of the 6 flying fighters, and no, Lockhins, the loser himself. More got bigger L on his forehead than Sanji, with Jinbei showing up, taking over for the Monster Trio. He's of course not here because Law completely sliced him in two. And we see X-Drake, and we see Page One, but we also see apparently Page One's sister. Begins with U. These are all card games, I'm assuming, except for X-Drake, because I know, of course, Black Maria or the Black Lady card game, and I think I've heard of one of the other ones before. There's one that's really confusing, and right when I read it, it kind of reminded me of Dr. No from, of course, James Bond, the Sean Connery James Bond, the movie Dr. No, because that was always a fun thing, like, no, what's your name? No, oh, no, sort of idea, right? And the same thing here with who's who, who's who, you, no, who's who, you, who. So I didn't really look up any of the names. I just recognized the Black Maria game. My parents used to play it and such, but either way, I'm assuming they're all named after different games, but I don't think that their epithet as a card game is going to necessarily have to do with their devil fruit. I think that here we can see we have 2 dinosaurs. I'm assuming they're going to be all ancient zones. Some of them, similar to like Jack is a mammoth. What about a saber-toothed tiger? We could have something like that. That's all I'm saying. They might not all necessarily be popular dinosaurs. Oda could go a little bit. I'm going to choose something a little bit on the difference. I mean, Allosaur, not really known so well, but still just a kind of a similar T-Rex thing. So it wasn't too, a lot of people mistaken X-Drake for a T-Rex, and we've yet to see a T-Rex. He might bring that up. One of the Flying Six could be, of course, a T-Rex. I'm thinking we need a Triceratops and a Stegosaurus. Very classic dinosaurs. I'm also thinking an Ankylosaurus would be cool. And maybe another flying one. We already have kind of the pterodon, but there are multiple different type of flying dinosaurs and such like that back in the day. We have our mammoth, as I said, a saber-toothed tiger. That would be really cool. A mastodon. I guess we already have the mammoth, but mastodon sort of idea. I'm kind of betting on an Ankylosaurus and a Triceratops for sure. And I'd really like to see a saber-toothed tiger, but I don't know if they're going to have one. So, because we really only have 4, because we already have a Spinosaurus, we have an Allosaurus. So, there's a limit now. I mean, let's assume we get our Triceratops and Stegosaurus. Now we only have 2. We have 2 left to determine, does somebody get a T-Rex? Is someone going to be an ankylosaurus? Is someone going to be a saber-toothed tiger? Is there going to be, there's a lot of different herbivores. They don't all necessarily, like Stegosaurus and Triceratops, so there doesn't need to be, we could have another carnivorous zone. It's up to debate which one that would be. Either way, what did you guys think? Do you think we're going to get a T-Rex and stuff? This chapter, as I said, it was very straightforward, very simple, so not really a whole lot to go into. I went into a little bit about my opinion on Sword, but yeah, so apparently this is a family matter. I think Black Maria is hot. I think size doesn't matter to me in that regard. So yeah, I'm curious in how she is. I think the guy on the far left, Sasaki, I think his name was. I think he's kind of the de facto leader. They kind of talk about that, and I saw some little bit of spoilers. People like hyping up X-Drake, but I didn't really see anything where X-Drake is. They mentioned something about if Queen were to get axed, who would kind of fill the position, and someone mentions, oh, you think it would be you? X-Drake's like, well, I don't really care about it. I don't really see where people, maybe it was in the other translation before the official viz, maybe it was implied that they said, oh, well, X-Drake you would be. Who knows? Hard to say, but because I didn't read the other translation, I just read the viz this week. So that being said, there's just kind of waiting here. I think we have another break next week, so it's going to be a long way till we finally get some real action here, I think. But Oda knows this, and I'm sure Oda's going to make it so that we don't have a bunch of setup chapters back to back to back, where it's going to be pretty much only 2 chapters in a 4-week, 5-week span. So that's going to be a hefty hit. So what did you guys think of the chapter? What did you think of the review? Like, comment, and subscribe. This has been Griever with your Behind the Bar reviews for One Piece, chapter 978. See you back here for 979. Drink responsibly as always. Peace out.